Well, thank you. You guys ready to go live? We're all ready to go. All right. Well, I just want to welcome you guys tonight. My name's Alan Hallett. I'm the superintendent, and I appreciate the 20 people that are here. And we're hoping the 700 that are online watching this. Those that are online, we already told the group here they actually get tuition discounts coming into this year because they actually showed up in person. And so if you still want to try to get here in the next 5 minutes, we'll extend that same thing to you guys as we get started. So I want to introduce and start. Michael Papik's going to open us. Michael is our board president, and he's going to open us in prayer. See if your microphone works.
Lord, thank you so much for the time we can spend here. Thank you for Pole Valley, just the school that you've provided for us. Thank you for the teachers and the administrators and everyone who just pours their hearts and their time into our kids. Father, I pray that you go before our time this evening as we talk about plans for the future and the coming school year and just what we feel you have for us coming up. We love you and are just thankful for your goodness and your love for us. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Michael. And I'll tell you guys, sometimes you either do or don't know some of the board members. We have an amazing board here that that the amount of hours, especially in transition, me coming here and a number of those things, Michael's here. I want to just publicly tell you guys what an amazing job he does and the group that supports me. You know, their primary job is keeping me accountable, hiring me, and we jokingly say hiring and firing and giving me feedback and challenging me and encouraging me, and they do an amazing job. The other pieces of that are certainly the vision and mission of our school, where we're going, and oversight of all those things. And so really what I'm be doing tonight is sharing a lot of that information. If you guys would look here, you guys should be able to see it online as well. This is a QR code, and we planned on only doing kind of digital questions and me seeing them. I've got them up on my laptop here as they come in. That way I can answer them as we go. So I'll give you this QR code at the end as well. I would probably encourage you to wait kind of toward the end and see if I answer some of your questions while we go through this. And if so, you guys can pop those questions on there as we go. All right? Good. Excellent. I'm going to show just a quick video for you guys to be able to just enjoy some pictures. like common language tied to this. We want to make sure we have an education for kids where we're loving and connecting with every single one of them, that nobody falls through the cracks, that individual kids are loved. They have a significant adult that knows them, knows the depths of them. And that's what our goal and vision is. It's a passion to do it. It's not easy to make sure that every single one, but I'm telling you, that's one of our visions and one of our goals to make sure that that happens. We give you guys a little bit of an overview of our financial picture. This is not something we often, I don't know how much you guys have seen in the past. Typically, as a superintendent, I've given just a basic overview. So you guys see kind of what our budget is, okay? Tuition, you guys see right there, $7.2 million, fees, and other, our income is just a little bit over $9 million. In the expense side, about 70, a little over 70% is salary and benefits. Rest of it, you guys can see for operations for the most part on the rest of the expenses that we have. And that totals about 8.9. The positive about this, below that, you can see that the net operating profit and loss, we are in the positive about $177,000. There's not a lot of private schools that I've ever seen that by just tuition run the annual budget, this does not have anything to do with any kind of fundraising or anything like that. We were able to run our budget just with tuition and fees to make sure that we do what we do, okay? That's all operational costs. That does not include facilities, things that we have to purchase, any additional programs, those. That's what we do with the fundraising. And I'll show that to you guys on the next slide. The next slide is our financial position. This is the money that we have in the bank as well as our debt. So I'll start with the debt because that's always the fun. We did borrow when we purchased the 72 acres. We actually had enough money donated. We could have purchased it in cash. We chose to do a short-term loan for this because it made a lot more financial sense so that we had the finances or the money in the bank to be able to do some of the work we're doing right now with architects, etc. So we do have a $1.5 million, and I love meeting with bankers. I got to do that today. It's one of my favorite bankers and lawyers, for those that are out there. Those are usually my favorite meetings. And then we also have a $3.8 million bond that's on the Meridian campus. And that was for a renovation that they did a number of years ago. The brand new gymnasium, a lot of the cafe and the things that are over there. Some of you guys are nodding your head because you have been there. That's our debt position. Our cash position. In the bank, guys, we have $4.5 million. Again, not a lot of private schools can say that. And you guys can see how that's broken down. The operational, that's carryover money. As you're looking at a couple $100,000 a year, we take that operational money, we save it away for little things like holes in the roof, that kind of stuff that seems to be important, especially when it happens. Or the heat going down the kindergarten classrooms 2 days ago. We always wait till it's coldest out to see when the heating goes down. Or the cafeteria at the secondary. It always is in the winter. And it always leaks, of course, when it rains. That's always true. Fundraising, we have $2.7 million right now. Of that 2.7, 1.7 is actually designated to the new property or the one campus, but the rest of it is not, okay? So that's how much you guys have given. I'll talk a little bit more in a minute about our end of the year giving because everyone was incredibly generous this year. It's the last 2 years have been just amazing, literally, as far as your guys' support on what we're doing and encouragement. So thank you so much for that. Tuition increase. Typically, you guys need to know we will have a tuition increase each year. I shared this with fifth grade yesterday, and the most asked question, because I didn't share it, was because we're going to have about $350,000. That's what we'll be proposing to the board as a final proposal on Monday of increased costs. Of that, all of it will go for tuition. It'll go for salary and benefit increase, okay? We don't see any basic general operating costs going up significantly except for a few occasions that I will tell you about. But we're going to pretty much take that and turn it directly into that. Our goal, we've been around 85+% of our salaries in comparison to the local public schools. Now, they got a federal thing about 3 years ago where they bumped the base salary of teachers up to 40 grand, and we were not able to do that because we do not get those monies that come in and bump that quickly up. But what we started doing last year is we did a $2,000 increase at the base. We're going to try to do a $2,000 or $3,000 increase at the base this year, and then another one next year to try to catch up as close as we can to that $40,000 as a starting salary, okay? So that's what we've been working on. If you're doing math and you saw back to my budget on what tuition is and you do a simple division, I used to teach math, 6th grade, you'll see that that's probably somewhere around a 5% increase in tuition. That's what we'll be recommending to the board. So if you guys are beginning to do your math and you're needing to know what that is, that's about what we're probably looking at as far as recommendation to the board on Monday, okay? Focus on increased teaching. I already did that. The last thing, how many of you guys have a custodial service in a business that you have? Some of nobody. That's excellent. I was looking for other opportunities because we just got notified a couple weeks ago that our increased costs are going to be around 30%. And it's because people aren't doing the jobs. And then a week after we got that increase, they resigned and said, we won't be cleaning your buildings anymore as of the end of this month. And they're a great company. They've been working with us for some time, and they've been incredibly faithful. And the owner of the company is close to us. They have done everything to try to keep it staffed. But you guys just need to know right now, we did 3 different companies to come through today to try to get some. But they're, according to them, 400 openings for people that clean in the valley that are unfilled. And so if you guys want to stick around and volunteer for that, we'll have great opportunities for volunteering late in the evening with a vacuum cleaner and toilets. I got one laugh. I appreciate that, though. All right, celebrations. Good. See, I'm telling you, I have lost a couple slides, and I'm excited about it because I'm going to make it go this just perfect. So here's the first thing. I'm sure most of you, literally this week, there's probably been more articles on the impact of education regarding COVID throughout the nation. And if you don't know this, first, there's a significant gap. We know that kids do not learn online, especially especially if you have a kindergarten, first grade, second grade, when they're actually learning language, right? How under God's green earth can they actually learn in any way, shape, or form how to read during that time? They can't. And the masks are incredibly challenging because when you're trying to teach them how to actually vocalize the words or learn the words, there's multisensory things that happen regarding language acquisition, etc. that, guys, we've been able and blessed to do here. Now, have we had some students that have come in and needed extra help? Yes. In fact, we even hired an extra person to help specifically just with the COVID gap. For some of those that, of course, bailed California, came here, and they're like, please. So those of you, thank you for being here, but that we helped. But I can tell you the growth that we've seen. In fact, we had a leadership meeting today, and what Shelley said, because they just looked at scores, the growth that we've seen almost in all of the kids is incredibly quick for those that are just gapped. For those that have some challenges learning, it's different. But for those that just had the gap, many of them have already caught up because of our intense work with just those kids. So, but the national norm is social and emotional, et cetera, that's going on. I don't know what parents are doing for that. And they say that there's a much larger epidemic regarding depression and a number of things, of course, I won't just say right now, but you guys know what I'm thinking, out in the country that is happening as a result of this because of the lack of socialization, the lack of interaction, the lack of actually getting out in front of a screen and probably spending most of their time on who knows what they're spending it on. And so they're talking about even a lost generation. But we're blessed, and we haven't had to go through that. The board's made some great decisions regarding how to keep doing what we're doing and going forward. I still would love someone to actually come and study our school and see how we actually handled COVID and literally how well we've actually come through it. We really have. It's been amazing. And there's some decisions we made, but it's also God's grace that's really taken us through that. So I want to make sure we put there. End of the year, we had over $300,000 given this year. So we asked, our goal was $200,000, and I love when we do that, and then we get another 50% higher than that. Where this money is going to go directly is this. This year, at the end of the year, we unbudgetedly, but we had some surplus. We gave teachers a end of the year gift. Thank you, Ms. Smith. We are going to take the top $75,000 off of this gift and make sure that we have that same gift for this year coming on, just so you guys know the first $75,000 of that. The other couple hundred, some of it, there's I think 25 designated for the new property. 200,000 of it, most of it's going to go for bus transportation and technology, both facilities. Okay. There are also some capital costs that I'll talk about in a little bit with the modulars, especially at the secondary, and some ideas that we're talking about here on this campus. See what you guys are learning in person. You guys are not getting the full impact at home. I just want you guys to know that. You're getting some, but not the full. All right, other celebrations. Student growth. Early childhood now loves school. That literally is one of the comments. I said, hey, everyone send me some positives. they've come through a system, and it's amazing to see for those especially that have little ones, know that they would rather probably be at school than almost any other place. They love coming to school. The second part, elementary students are quickly closing academic gaps. I already talked a little bit about that because it was on my mind, and I actually don't remember what the notes were going to be. So that's why I said it in advance for you guys. I'm going to look real fast. And this is what it says. Yeah, they've gained months and weeks because of direct instruction that we've been able to do. Full academic math classes, accelerated math classes that we have for 5th and 6th grades. These are celebrations. Students working on real world projects. Elementary students have real world projects like 5th grade and their state projects, and the 1st grade with some of their small math groups. I'll talk a little bit about an in-service we did recently that's going to continue to be challenging our teachers on doing more and more of those real life opportunities. Also, we have new areas of student leadership. The Tri-M Music Honor Society hosted a successful talent show, and they did that themselves, an amazing thing. NHS, and which is National Honor Society, we have one at the high school, and Student Council are also developing their own leadership abilities by planning and hosting many school-wide events, as well as a lot of outreaches that you guys. Now, I know how many of you guys have secondary kids, so some of you guys know a little more in depth of some of the things I'm talking about. But when we are able to do this, you get to hear and also foreshadow some of the things you guys have to look forward to that are going on at the middle school and the high school. And I'll talk a little bit more about middle school and high school here in a little bit. Faith taking root, elementary chapel, worship, and salvation. If you have not been to an elementary chapel, now first, I heard people go, well, we're not invited to come to elementary chapel anymore. The people in this room get to come to elementary chapel. Those that are in person, am I okay with that? Yes? Anyone, yeah, it's all life. Any of the people that actually came in person. But if you have not been to an elementary chapel, or if you have secondary, middle school or high school, please come and see one. Please come and see how it can challenge you in your own faith and where you're at. We've had numerous salvations, even in elementary school this year. Kids that are recommitting their life as well as just there. And I was talking to a parent who was new to our school, came one time, and she said that might be the best worship experience she'd ever had. So please come and enjoy that. 8th grade retreats and high school retreats. We did those. COVID caused some issues of doing some of those. It wasn't because we weren't willing to go do retreats. No one would take us. That's been more of the issue. And we were able to do 8th grade retreat as well as high school retreat. We had multiple salvations and recommitments of both of those. I was at one night of the high school, and I saw 7 or 8 people that at that evening that either recommitted or accepted Jesus for the first time, and be able to see their lives change is an amazing thing. You guys know this, but I'll talk a little bit. Faith-filled conversations in Bible and advisory. Advisory is something we have at the high school as well as middle school. We'll be changing a little bit of those, but really more concentrated in the future. And also Bible. Guys, we have Bible people. That's a good word. Bible teachers. And at the elementary, every one of them is a Bible teacher. You just ask them, but they're able to share their own faith and be able to share it with them in a deep way. Kevin Rex, I remember, was sharing yesterday. And I remember we'll talk a little bit about some ideas. We're possibly going to have 5th grade being at 6th grade campus next year. I'll talk a little bit about that, or being at the secondary campus. But he talked about one of his favorite things is the ability for him to do Bible and personally mentor those kids that are in his homeroom. And we're just seeing lives change by that. And we have just amazing people that do that. You guys know that, but I like to celebrate it. Another celebration, YWAM short-term mission opportunity. We just presented this to the high school just a week ago. YWAM, which is Youth with a Mission. They have some short-term missions that are somewhat local because we've had some impact in doing anything out of the country. Typically, we try to do a basketball one to Philippines and some other areas. So we've got 2 that we're going to be doing short-term missions. We have some high school kids that are going to be going to those. One's a basketball one at a Native American reservation, and then another one is a camping outreach mission. I think I want to go do that one, the camping, except I don't do tents anymore, so I have to work through that one. And then the last one, student relationships. It's funny, leadership today, we almost always talk about relationships in the leadership team. Because it is the number one focus and it's the number one challenge. But especially, someone was just talking about puberty, especially when they hit puberty, the relationships change even more differently. That's not the right grammatical. Ms. Smith, you're going to have to help me with that. That's not it. So I apologize, but my notes aren't here, so I'm making it up as I go. Thank you. She forgave me, so I'm good. So we're excited about what we see, though. I was talking to a board member today. Even when we see bumps in student relationships and trying to teach them how to work one to another, the way we're able to use the truth of Christ and grace in the middle of teaching them, the best place for them to mess up is here at the school. And that's my opinion, because we're able to walk them through that. So another excitement. I'm going slower than I ought to go. Here we go. Next level. I don't even remember why I called this next level. I'll make it up. Nope. Here we go. Next level, middle school and high school. What are the things that we're doing even next level? Some exciting things that are happening. If you don't know a lot about our STEAM program, STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and math. We have it everywhere from elementary up through secondary, through high school. But they got a $20,000 grant, and I think she's put in and gotten grants for the last I don't know how many years, because we're doing such an amazing job in that area. Just so you guys are aware. We have a robotics team. You guys saw some pictures of the robotics team up there. They did competitions. They continue to do competitions. I'll talk a little bit more about one of our new computer teachers. We have Future City. We have a NASA team that's working on a lot of things like real life type stuff that they would do at NASA, and they've done competitions as well. We have a new weight room. How many of you guys have seen the new weight room at the secondary high school? Okay. So 2 years ago, I think, and we hired a full-time trainer that is at the high school level. I think we had 30 kids or something like that off season that were working out and training. We now have 130 kids that seem to be pretty committed, but just an incredible increase of kids that are being both mentored as well as trained in that area. And that's another incredible celebration, as well as for our athletic programs. Monthly lunches at the high school is Wise Women in Science and Engineering. It's an area of focus, just so you guys know. We're trying to encourage our young ladies to be looking at the sciences, and then maths at the high school as well as they're graduating. I walked by. We have one kid that's doing third-year calculus. Any third-year calculus people out here? Besides, yeah, good, me and you. Third-year calculus. And of course, she's a young lady who's just killing it right now and doing a phenomenal job in third-year calculus. I didn't even know he taught third-year calculus. No, but we have a kid that's in it, and that's amazing. That's another offering that we're able to do. And finally, Coach Marino is our high school football coach. He'll be hosting another football clinic here for the elementary students. I know some of those kids, the high school kids, will be helping out with that clinic as well, and that's a super exciting thing. New programs. Move faster, Alan. High school, middle school computer tech teacher. We were able to steal an unbelievable teacher from California. See, another California person, because he was trying to flee. And we were able to, he had 20 some years of experience in coaching and teaching technology, as well as the integration of technology. So he's coaching our teachers, as well as teaching robotics and a number of the other things we're doing. We also were able to add a lot of hours to our technology teacher at the elementary, who is amazing. And she's able to also not just be doing the classroom instruction, she's also coaching teachers behind the scene on how to use more technology in the classroom. Next one, elementary art teacher. We added that, and we're going to continue to increase the opportunities that you guys we're going to have for elementary art, another area that we're excited about. On Monday of last week, we pulled in, I've worked with an academic trainer. She's one of my favorites in the country. She's the best presenter I've ever seen. And she did something on rigor, relevance, and relationship. Now, I love it because the first thing that we wanted to refocus on, especially as we've seen some growth, is relationship. Making sure that our primary number one thing that we're teaching teachers is relationship. And I just want you guys to know, I was as I came away from that, I had probably more positive feedback from teachers regarding that in-service than most, and I've done this 32 years, than I think just about any in-service I've done. So we're really excited about the foundation and the framework that we're doing that. The other two bottom, I already did, and I recopied them, and I apologize, they shouldn't be there. There we go. SAT scores. This is high school scores. And if you guys can see the numbers, otherwise I'll read them to you. The top one is the state average. I can't see it with these glasses on either, which is 900 and some. National average is right at 1,000. The CVCS one is 1,200. And then our top 25% of our seniors this last year, their average is 1,400 plus. I don't know if it's on this schedule. I'm going to guess it right now. Other things that I'll tell you, you guys can see at the bottom of that, the class of 2021 earned $4.1 million in scholarships. We don't know what this one's coming up right now, but I know we have a number of those that are sitting there. Other scholarship opportunities, I think we had total of 7 students that went on to play college sports last year. We have 3 that are already signed this year, and another handful that we know are going to. In fact, I don't mind bragging. I know my son got another offer today, but it's for the wrong sport. He wants to play basketball, not football. I'm like, buddy, but that's money, okay? I'm teasing. That's actually a little bit of what I said. But we have a number of student athletes, and not just the fact that they're doing well in sports, but beyond that, they're the kind of character kids that you want your kids to grow up to be like, and they're a great model with that. If you're able to go to any of the fall sports, our high school, almost every one of our sports ended up at the state. In fact, volleyball was back at state after the last time, I think it was 2018. So seeing incredible productions there. Right now, our girls basketball team is ranked first in the state. The boys basketball team is up there too and doing really well. So if you have an opportunity to get up there and see a game, please do. Especially the local games, it's packed. It's a lot of fun at the game. So come on and see what your kids, if you're not there already, have to look forward to the future. Partnership. Because of COVID, we know volunteers was impacted a little bit. We're back up, and we have a lot of people volunteering. Thank you guys so much for those that are pouring into the school and that are a part of that. So we're continuing to look for ways we can continue to do that. We have prayer groups and prayer walks that's happening at both campuses. If you aren't someone that believes this, I can just tell you, I unbelievably, if we want things to change, prayer is what's going to do it. Today in our leadership, we were praying for a revival of our kids. You probably cannot find a week that's not our number one prayer. That these kids are touched and impacted by the Holy Spirit in such a way that they turn and they pursue Him. Okay, so you just need to know that. So please join us in prayer. Keep doing that. If you're not a part of a prayer group, start another one. Join ones that are walking and praying. And we love that that's happening. We have unprecedented applications. You guys know that. I was shocked by a number yesterday, and then I was told another number today that double shocked me. So last week, we opened applications for those that have been on our waiting list. We had over 200 applications in 2 days. These are not our current families, applications. We had another 180 that are in the work. So right now, it's possible we have 380 applications, full applications for people that are begging for spots at our school. And just so you guys know that that's sitting there. And we're wrestling with that. I'm going to share a little bit about that, of course. I'm sure a lot of you want to hear more about that idea and what we're going to do about that. But it's real. We've continued to do building events, community building events, and we've had incredible, sometimes too good. It's like COVID been going on. We open it up, we have an event, everyone comes. Except tonight, by the way, for those that are online. This is called a community event, and there were free things to be given away. If you guys don't have this on your calendar already, April the 8th is our gala. Love for you guys to be there. It's an incredible opportunity. It's a lot of fun. And you can battle with Michael over bidding for something goofy. I don't know. Please do. I was mad because he outbid me last year for the trip fishing, if I remember correctly. Was that Todd Gill? That was Todd that outbid me on that. And I wasn't happy about it. Still not. Still bitter, actually, a little bit about it. Our strategic initiatives. These are the 6 strategic initiatives. We met with a consultant a year ago, and we came up with these initiatives that we've been working on for the last year and a half. Okay? I'll talk briefly about them. Long-term hiring plan. As we've seen growth and as we have seen the reduction in the number of teachers that are out there, we're trying to be very purposeful about our plan on how to hire, how to raise up teachers, how to encourage phenomenal subs to come and be a part of our program. There's at least one in this room. I'm saying that too. And we're working solid with that. We hired a new HR director. Tabitha is also my assistant. She's doing an amazing job of connecting to colleges, so we make sure we're getting some of the best teachers that are out there. I don't have to have 50 applicants. I just have to have one really good one that we know is mission driven that can join these amazing teachers that are already back here. Thank you guys for being here tonight. New site plan. We've been working with LKV Architect on the new site plan, having the one campus. Very soon, I think we'll be able to have the 3D models where you guys can start dreaming and praying about that. We're excited about what's there is and the opportunities that's going to give us. Developmental plan. This is really around our finances. And so we hired a new person, director of development. Wayne is our new director of development as well as a director of advancement, and they're working together as a team to make sure not only we can do annual giving like the end of the year 300,000 we did, we also, I mean, we're looking at the projected budget. I'll just shock you guys. We think it's going to be somewhere between 55 and $70 million if we're going to do that entire property. I've never raised that much money. I don't know too many people that have, except for the government doing mill levies. And for some reason, they won't let me do a mill levy, which I think would be a great way for us to pay for a private school, but I don't think we were going to let us do it. So we're going to need some God things to do. And we're excited about how God's going to do it, because I know I have no ability to get that done, but we know that God can, if that's really what he wants to have done. And so we're excited about how that is. School-wide teacher training plan, I talked a little bit about our in-service, but our principals have been meeting for over a year, specifically being every single thing we want teachers to know and be able to do and do well, have an evaluation system that lines up to that, and then a training program that's going to keep them to it. And it's everything, guys, from the academic part of how we approach to the spiritual side of that. All right, so it's very purposeful, and they're doing an amazing job. Shelly is one of the ones that's leading that team and does an incredible job with that. Clear strategy for intentional discipleship. As we've grown, I talked already about relationship. I already talked to you about what's most important. As you grow, the first thing we got to come back to make sure we're doing well is discipleship and relationship. So we have an entire group that's teamed around that. Vicki Jones, as well as our other vice principal, are keying that up and making sure that that's a focus of what we're doing. And then a parent engagement plan. We're continuing to look for how do we do that better. And I've got some other things I'll be talking to you about that, but we're very focused on how to do it. We also came up with 3 more initiatives outside of this as we started seeing what was going on. First one's a growth plan. If you guys didn't know, we were growing. You know, when we had a down surge, when I first came here in COVID, people were kind of going away. But as soon as they found that we were actually going to be in person and other states were not going to be in person at all, we started seeing significant changes. And I've heard a lot of conversations about growth. And here's what I've understood about growth. There was a time our elementary in classrooms probably had 17. Well, we've always had a cap of 24, just so you guys know. The problem is we just didn't have enough kids to actually fill the 24. We're at a spot now, it's not hard to fill the 24. And so that impact is being felt because we actually have 24 in a class. And we have plans for that. We have conversations. We'll keep talking about that, but we have plans for growth. I'll share a little more detail here in a second. Development of a middle school. One of the big things that we saw as a missing element is a middle school. For those that have had kids that have gone on to the secondary, you'll hear me stop using the term secondary. We are going to start more and more using the term middle school and high school. If you have a school at elementary and after 6th grade, they go straight into 7th grade, we really function as a school, 7, 12 as a secondary. There's certainly some differences between 7th grade and 12th grade, but not nearly as many developmentally that we really believe is important for how we're going to impact those kids. If we're going to go back to our mission on how to touch and impact those kids, we need a space that's created specifically for middle school kids where they can have an incredible time. And that's what we're going to do. So there's elements of that we have still some decisions to make as a board on Monday, but we want to create a space. If you haven't met Brian Goodbar, he is our new middle school principal. He actually was my middle school principal in Colorado, and he was phenomenal at it. He went down and was a superintendent in New Mexico, and I begged him to leave New Mexico and come back up here and be a middle school principal for us and start the middle school. And so I'm super excited about what we're going to do in that area. Last one is focus on our mission. I already talked a little bit about this, but we want to be specific to make sure that's what we're focusing on. All right, next. Talk about a miscalculation. As we talked about growth and we talked about growth plan, one of the decisions that we made last year was to allow the secondary, I told you I won't use that very often, but it was secondary, to go one more section larger. We had 3 sections or 75-ish kids per grade. And we made the decision in February last year because Meridian clearly told us we'd be able to drop 4 modulars in additional classrooms. So we made the decision at that time to take additional kids to do it. August came and we weren't even close. It's been a challenge, just so that you guys understand. And I've worked in 5 counties or however many it is in 2 different states. And it has been the most challenging. Our architect and our engineers are like, they've never seen anything like this. And if you're trying to do anything construction-wise in Meridian, nod your head because you know exactly. ACHD has been a challenge. They're incredibly low on who's doing the work, etc. And so it nailed us. Here's what I can tell you. We do actually have the modulars dropping supposedly on Monday. We finally got them cleared to do it, but it has been a crunch. We have 2 classes. We have a class that's meeting in the cafeteria. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's speech and study hall. We use the auditorium in the secondary to make sure that's there as well, and that's going to be alleviated. But it was a miscalculation on our part. I don't know that we would have done anything different because we haven't been able to change what they're doing. We do believe that growth has impacted our culture, but I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Not necessarily our culture. It's changed our culture because there are some things we can't do anymore. We can't do the Thanksgiving, everyone gets together and do the Thanksgiving thing because we don't have a place that we fit. And so that is a change. And as you have greater numbers, so what we're going to have to do is be very purposeful on how we create culture that's in smaller groups. I'll talk more about that as we go through the presentation. And so that's something that's super important. But as we've had more numbers, we've had a larger influx of just new people. And with the COVID part, we weren't able to get together in groups. And then we finally did. There's been a gap in getting those relationships. So I think we need to be more purposeful on how we're going to do that. And I've got a team of people working on that. So refocus on relationships and culture and creation of smaller purposeful communities. We talked about this today, the creation of smaller purposeful communities. We're not going to be able to do, how many of you were at the Christmas concert? Okay. Sorry. Here's what's funny. We even talked, we made every plan we possibly thought we could do for that thing. And it's still, I could not believe the turnout. We're going to have to look at things differently. And when we're looking at those kind of events, we're either going to have to find different venues so that we can all be together. And so we're working on that, or we're going to have to separate it into smaller chunks because we don't want to lose that. And I know if you have 2 kids and one's in 3rd grade and one's in 5th grade, I know you want them to have the same program, but we're going to have to think differently, yet still create the cultures. That's what we're doing. At the same time, we're not going to be able to get together and do the entire Thanksgiving thing, but here's what we need to start doing. Let's start having a 1st grade group that gets together purposefully, the parents and the kids, to create relationships and they know each other. I've told today, in the leadership team, I said every principal, I want to plan by the fall how we're going to do this in every single grade level, okay? How we're going to create those kind of communities. And of course, they're the ones telling me, of course, they're in great shape. I mean, guys, we have great principals here. We really do. And I'm just honored to be the person that gets to modular update. It's going to be dropped, supposedly the 17th. I don't believe anything until I see it. And then we're supposed to have occupancy in March. Then we're going to move into the 4 classrooms. And we're excited about the spacing. And we're actually dropping 8 classrooms there. And high school will be in those classrooms. I've got a number of teachers that are incredibly happy to actually go in a classroom I have one teacher I think is teaching currently in 7 different spaces. So the idea of just being in one space, he's really thin. He was not as thin when we started the year, but he's thin now. If he was here, I would totally make fun of him. All right. Elephant in the room. I did this only because I like the picture. We definitely have growth. I talked a little bit about that, but we know it's the elephant in the room, and we know it is impacting. So I'm going to keep talking about that, but I'll give you guys some more ideas on what we're talking about and how we're going to do that here in a second. New property vision for the future. I give you a little bit of overview on timing. Our prayer at the earliest, 2024, would be when we're able to move into that. We have not got final. We have not chosen a general contractor yet. That'll be some of the next stages, as well as us getting the final versions of this, and then starting a true capital campaign so we know how much we can both raise and or borrow. We're believing for somebody that just writes like a $60 million check, and then we'll just be happy. Got to say that out loud to start with. Why not, right? It's not their money. It's Jesus's money. And so who knows what can happen. I do know that God's got a special plan for this valley and the opportunity. But when we do talk about growth, we're making plans right now. So in this model, see, I just remembered a note that's not on here because it's the same ones it was from slide 1. In the model, our model for the new building is 4-section elementary, okay? So 4-section means you would be 4 classes. Currently, we're at 3 classes, and we are looking at possibilities of doing that sooner than that. I'll talk about that in a minute. Middle school is 5 sections, so 5 groups of 24 or 25, and then high school is 6 sections, which is a total of about 160 kids. So the entire plant or the entire property is created. It's 250,000 square feet. Is that right, Michael? Is that pretty close? $250,000 square feet, and it's for about 1,800 kids total. Right now we have about 1,200. We do have plans that I'm going to share with you in a minute to be at close to 1,400 next year. But without you going into shock, wait and let me share with you at least what we're thinking and how we're doing that, okay? So that's the overall property on that. I talked a little bit about this, but I'll jump into some more details. We need these 3 schools, not just elementary and secondary, but we need a true culture that's for middle school, elementary, and high school. We spent an entire evening last night, a couple hours with the 5th graders, talking to them about we're leaning towards 6th grade being at the middle school next year. I'm not going to go through all the details with you guys. So how many of you guys have 6th grader that's going to 7th grade next year? So we have a couple of you there. So I'll go through Mr. Goodbar's slides, a basic overview, but it won't be the detail that we went through last night. But if you have any more questions, we're going to set that up. And there's also going to be a 6th grade preview night. So you guys will be meeting with Mr. Goodbar. He's already got that set up. I don't think you guys have the dates yet, but you guys will see that soon so that you can be able to go through the entire details that I know I will not do nearly as good a job as Mr. Goodbar will. He loves middle school kids. I was a middle school teacher, but I've literally been doing this job way too long since I was a middle school teacher and middle school principal. So I won't try to act like I know what I'm talking about like Mr. Goodbar does. New middle school. So that will be 6th, 7th, and 8th. That's what we're looking at doing, okay? And again, we got feedback from 6th grade, next year's 6th grade parents last night. We're continuing to get that feedback, and we will be making a final decision whether we're doing that soon with the school board, okay? And we'll make sure everybody's clear of that. But everybody in here, if you have a 7th and 8th grade or a 6th grade going into 7th, guess what? That's already a done deal, and you're going that direction. I won't go through too many more details of this, but that's where we're going and what we want to do. This is when Mr. Goodbar came up last night and he did a full presentation. And I'm going to do, I don't have his slides. That's okay. I'm going to tell you his slides. What's the difference between middle school and junior high? Okay, that is the first question that people ask. Let me go back a slide. So I'll just put it on his and talk you through his slides. How many of you guys went to a junior high? How many went through a middle school? Okay. See, already know the controversy, don't you? If you're in Boise, it's one direction. If you're in Meridian or most of the rest of the country, it's a different direction. Junior high typically is created 7, 8, 9 or 7, 8. Typically, their scheduling and how they do academics is the same as high school. They're really going in and they're going from class to class. Middle school concept is a teaming concept. You want to teach by group, pretty much like what we do at the elementary school, guys. It's a group of teachers that continues to teach all of those kids. So it's a teaming concept, and they work with the same teachers within a team. So what we're looking at next year is having a 6th grade team. They'll have a 7th grade team. Most of those teachers will mostly teach 7th grade. They might teach a couple 8th. And then they'll have an 8th grade team. Most of them will teach mostly 8th grade, and they might teach a little bit of 7th. All right. The only crossovers you're going to see would potentially be in the electives. There'll be some music electives that would be crossover, but that's the way the teaming concept's going to work for middle school. And it's created. I'm trying to see if I missed anything that are on his notes. You know, it's specifically focused on adolescents, guys. It's specifically focused on the needs that they are. As I heard a parent telling me, the fear of puberty coming, and if you're not afraid, that just means you didn't have one go through it yet. That's really that simple. It's you just lack wisdom right now or experience, because it will happen. I guarantee it. But we are trying to create an incredible place for them. And so that's what 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade is going to look like. Here's a slide that says this specifically geared for adolescents. Many kids will make a decision for Christ during 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. In fact, it's one of the highest times in their life they do that. So we want to make sure that small communities and teams that's taking care of them during those times of making those kind of decisions. Focus goes from family to friends. I remember I was a middle school principal, and I said this, and I got in so much trouble, but I'm going to say it again today. I said, I'm sorry, your kids really don't want to hang out with you. They want to hang out with the kids, their friends anymore. And it really is what happens. And the strongest influence, another reason I think Christian school is incredibly important, the influence of their friends changed during that time. And so creating community where you can both teach them, coach them, and challenge them in there is incredibly important. I need to move faster. I can see it. They're also, believe it or not, middle school drives culture a lot, but they're going to have their own thing. Middle school is going to they're going to have their own chapel. So 3 days a month, they're going to have their own chapel, three weeks of, and then once we do combine all of middle school and high school in the gymnasium, and it's a blast. They have a great time. We have a band that's in the center of the gymnasium. You guys saw a picture of the gymnasium, and we've had a great experience of getting all of those kids together in that area. I talked about grade level teams. There are also going to be grade level retreats. You guys heard about the 8th grade one. There will also be a 7th grade retreat and a 6th grade retreat, because we want that are specific to that age group and be able to impact and touch them in those special ways. They're going to have advisory classes. Mr. Goodbar is calling them barn I know. I liked it. Barn. I'm not, it comes from the horses, the Chargers barn. It's kind of fun. And as well as I know 6th grade is going to have homeroom. So they'll be doing Bible in homeroom to make sure that those, and so you guys understand, at least in the physical property, 6th grade will be in the main floor, and almost all of their classes will be there. They'll be fairly self-contained there. 7th and 8th grade, for the most part, will be in those areas. We have 2 that sit there, and we also have something that's called an annex. And so we're looking at a schedule for middle school next year that's going to start a little bit earlier than high school, about 10 minutes. We're looking at right now, probably around 8 o'clock. And we're going to schedule everything to make sure that we have enough space for drop-off and pickup as we potentially move 6th grade there. And so we're working on that. Their schedule will be a little bit different also, so their passing periods are going to be different than when the high school passing periods are going to be. And again, I talked about the modulars. There's going to be 8 classrooms, but it'll be high school students throughout in those modulars, okay? And so we're really excited about the possibilities of what we have. We've been planning this for some time. In fact, they've been talking about making sure bringing 6th grade over there, as well as this middle school concept, for about 4 years. And we just now finally have the physical ability to do that, and then also plan for the future that's coming forward. And Mr. Goodbar will talk to you guys more about parent connections, et cetera, that sit there. Growth, what will growth look like at the elementary? So we literally had the conversation as a leadership team about bringing a 6th grade over there just because we wanted the cultural piece of that. We really wanted to impact them spiritually, as well as we know from an academic side that that's the best move that we knew for 6th grade. We actually then started talking about, is there any way to grow elementary? Is there a way that we physically could go ahead and do that 4th section at elementary? What are the positives and negatives? Ms. Krager and I met with elementary teachers on Wednesday. We sat and walked through with them, every single one of them, just to talk about the ideas of adding a 4th section. What are the strengths and weaknesses? What are the things that could happen? What are the things that might not happen? One of the things that's happened with growth, we talked about going from 17 or 18 per class to 24. All of a sudden, a teacher that has 3 groups that move around, that's another 18 kids that they didn't have. Now, you guys just need to know we can't sustain a school and pay teachers with 18 kids in a classroom. You can't do it. It's almost 20 just to break even with that. But as we started looking at that, is an impact. And that's an impact in knowing those kids, if we're talking about our vision and mission, knowing the depth of them. So we started having a conversation. What if instead we go to a 4-person team and we actually do team teaching in 2s, okay? So instead of going to 3 curricular areas, you have a teacher that's going to be teaching half of what they teach, and then the other teacher is going to teach the other half. So language arts, reading and writing is going to be in one area. The other person is going to be helping support some of that reading and writing, as well as math and the other things that sit there with curriculum. And as we talked about, here's the excitement. Going from teaching 72 kids to 48 kids, they got excited about that idea. And there's a number of them. So that is what we're exploring for next year. We've already reached out to see the opportunity to be able to drop 2 more modulars on this property. With that, that would give us 4 additional classrooms plus the 3 we had that are being vacated by 6th grade. That gives us 7 classrooms. We need 6. That means that we have an additional one for art, or we have a number of people battling for the full-time classroom that sits there. And so we're making plans to look at what's the best thing to do that. We would be doing even an academy this summer for teachers, and we would be paying them during that time to make sure they're taking that extra time to do the planning that might be a little bit different than they did. Same curriculum, same teaching, but 2-person teams in each of those. Other changes we're thinking about making. Not thinking. First, 5th kindergarten will be 5-day next year. All day, all week. Okay, it will be a 5-day kindergarten. We reached out to our preschool, and I forget, it wasn't just majority, it was almost everybody. That was where they wanted to go. And I know Boise just passed that they're going to be having free. I know it's free, but we talk about Jesus, so send them here. You don't want to send them to the free. Come on down here. But we are looking at potentially kindergarten and 1st grade, instead of having the caps at 24, looking more like 20 and 21. So those will be a little bit smaller, both kindergarten and 1st grade, as we do the language acquisition, okay? So those are at least the changes we're looking at making. We will not pull the trigger on that, of course, until. Now, here's the thing. In Boise with modulars, it's not nearly, we don't need a move of God to actually get a modular done in Boise, because they're not having the same kind of growth and issues in Boise as Meridian is. And so we feel really good, but we will not make that final decision until we're guaranteed we know that we can have those delivered. Minimally, we know we can add 3 grades, a 4th section. We're going to be very purposeful on how to create those cultures, how we're interviewing those people, and already those almost 350 people that we have over 50 families that have a kid in one grade, but we don't have another spot for their other kiddo. And just need to know as a mission, our hearts are torn to that. You know, how do we create and keep our culture, who we are as Cole Valley, but still allow some of the growth that's sitting there? Okay, just those are tough conversations, but when we're missionally driven, I still picture the idea of having a church and having that many people sitting outside wanting a seat. We definitely want to make the largest impact. I had someone ask me, "Are you guys just growing for money?" Stop. We would never grow for money. First, we don't make any money at all. You guys saw our budget. If we have 20 more kids, the only thing we do is break even, and it causes lots of headaches. It just does. The only thing we're moved by is that many more lives will get a disciple. And I believe we can not just do it well, I think we can do it better than we've been doing it. We're still trying to catch up to make sure. Shelley said this today. It was a great statement. Those that are concerned about some of the growth, how it's impacted, right now we're trying to catch up to just the cultural pieces that are happening there. The changes we're making right now, we actually believe will make it better for relationship for the future, or we wouldn't be making them. We would not allow growth unless we're going to do that. All right. Did I already advance this? I didn't. And I even cried. Last night, I introduced Christine Birch, who's our director of our student assistance services. And for those that don't know her, you guys will get to meet her if you have a student that's in that program that would be in 7th grade next year. She's doing an amazing job. We hired her just about a year ago to look at an entire student service program, making recommendations on how we're going to meet the needs for as many students as we possibly can in that program. If you do have a student in that, you will have them reaching out to you individually to make sure you understand what the middle school program is going to look like for your kiddos. Oh, yay, it's the last one. So this is the time you guys get to ask some questions. Honestly, I don't have a problem. For those online, you guys can go ahead and scan that and pop some questions up here. I'll be able to see all those questions. And then anyone in here, I think it's small enough for you to almost stand up. We don't even need the microphone. If you have a question that we can ask, I'll repeat it here so they can hear it, and we'll go from there. Or you can throw it up here. But yes, sir. So the question was, have we changed our requirements for entrance, whether we can have LDS students? The answer is absolutely no. That probably privately I could have that conversation a little bit differently, but understand our rule is at least one parent needs to be a Christian, okay? A Bible believing in relationship with us. We would prefer it to be two almost always, but that's not. If it does ever happen, we would address it. And if you've heard that that's possible, I can tell you that it's a specific thing that we're working with for a reason that we made that decision. So no, for sure. In fact, I can tell you that my principals have been doing interviews. What they've said this last year, the interviews have been amazing. You know, the families we have coming in, they're literally fleeing areas. They're coming here for the right reason. They want to be strong Christian families in our area. Is there some confusion potentially in some areas that they are Christians also? Yes, and we have a number of uncomfortable conversations in those areas. So, thanks for that question. Yes. Busing. Oh, thank you. I didn't even talk about the busing. So there's two additions to that. I talked a little bit about leasing some buses. So we possibly might have to increase some of the transportation between elementary to the middle school, high school campus. See how I changed those conversations. We're also, we had talked to a group, many of them are on our waiting list or had done the registration of really the desire was to start an East Campus for Cole Valley Christian School. We didn't think that was wise in any way, shape, or form. Plus, no one had really that. Instead, could we use the infrastructure we currently have? So what we've agreed to is we're looking at doing a drop site on the east part and having a bus that comes from the east part of Boise to the school. Okay, that will just be for elementary. We won't have like a double shuttle and 4 or 5 of those. It will really be to help those families that are struggling with that east side. specifically. So more details are coming. I want to make sure that we have at least one more leased bus to make sure that we have that. But that is a plan and a goal. And what's the name of the church that we're doing that at? Eagle Christian. Yeah, it's the Eagle Christian. I just don't remember the address. I was there and I don't remember the address. Eagle Christian on the east side over there. And they've agreed to allow us to have that as a hub and a drop spot for us to do a bus from there. So, other question? Yes, sir. Okay.
Is there a number that you guys are looking for percentage-wise to start the build project? Are you trying to raise 100%, 50%?
Yeah, literally, we don't know yet. So we're exploring lots of things, everything from the fact that we own 70 acres and we've planned on it only 50 acres. What potentially could we do financially with the other 20 some acres? I mean, I've got 2 meetings in the next 2 weeks that are that. Michael just had I think a message on his phone to similar type ideas. So that's one area. We definitely want to have a number that we want to raise, but we want to get the final numbers on really what the construction costs are going to be before we do that. Then after that, we're working up the financial models. We're using a consultant that's phenomenal on financial raising, working with my development department. And we've already created a number of models, but we're just this side of what that model is going to need to. Because we'll have to make a decision is, are we going to do the entire property? Or are we going to have to do it in phases? My prayer is we do the entire property. That's certainly what I want. Or if we do it in phases, most likely it's going to be elementary and the athletic complex. And we might even move modulars there and figure out some things that might be a little bit different. But that's our desire.
So then the second part, I'm assuming there's a lot of gambling in this community, in the construction world. Are you guys entertaining working
Sure.
as far as kind of a donation?
Okay. So the question is, we have a lot of construction people that are in our community or part of our school. Would we consider some of those partnerships or relationships with them to potentially donate and or work in exchange? As soon as we get a construction company, those are things. I can tell you guys in my past projects, I've definitely done that. I remember it saved $1 million on an electrical project because we had that partnership with someone. So if it's the right relationship and we can do it in a way, we absolutely would like to do that. I mean, anywhere we can drop that bottom number and raise the number we're raising, we want to do that as best we possibly can. Now, wonderful thing, I mean, Michael's in construction, and he's our board president. We've got a number of other people that are on the team, and we'll have an entire committee that will be working on that as well. So if that's another area that you're real strong in, please let me know. Yes?
So just to clarify, so high schoolers will be in modulars throughout their high school career, is that correct?
No, just eight classrooms are modulars. The rest of them, the upstairs, we have 2 more levels that are there, as well as the other one. You know, we have science labs and tech labs and all kinds of stuff. Those are mostly just general classrooms. I think what we have skated out there, I'm trying to remember, Bible. I think there's some math classrooms that are out there, social studies, that type of thing. So 8 of the classrooms will be out there.
Do you have I imagine there's a picture somewhere of how that outlet looks.
Yeah.
Is there a visual that we can see?
Yes. As soon as they're up, we'll just get a sky and we'll be able to do that. I mean, we have a plot plan for that, but we don't have it with the modulars that are sitting there. If you've been there where the football field is, they're going to sit parallel to the football field, 4 of them in a row. We'll have a crossing guard there, a number of things that sit there. I think it'll look real sharp. But 2 weeks from now, drive by and you'll be able to see it also. So that would be the other. I pray that that's true. If not, you'll see tears coming out of my eyes. I might get arrested again for what I did. You're telling me there's questions that are on my computer. There are questions on my computer. Awesome. Online or somebody in here. Are there any CVCS parent-elected school board members? How is the school board selected? Great question. First, how many are current parents, Michael, on the board? 4? Okay, so 4. So we have 4 that are current parents, adding 2 more that are also current parents. All the other ones, I don't think there's any exception, are past parents. So they just had kids that have graduated from our school. We have what's called a self-sustaining policy governance board. So they actually help and go out into our community to select other board members coming through. They're not elected, and so it's a self-sustaining or self-promoting internal board. And most policy governance boards, that's the type that they do. So we don't do it by election. It's done that way. Okay? Next question. Okay, somebody who's in support of the classroom, 2 teacher teams, as well as the smaller class sizes. Anytime I say smaller class sizes, it's funny. Everyone's in favor of that idea. Question is, any plans to deal with the pickup bottleneck in the afternoon if more kids are going to be added? So I don't know if that's elementary or secondary campus, middle school, high school campus. Again, high school, middle school, high school campus, we're trying to do a start and a stop time that are different for middle school and high school. We're hoping that's going to alleviate the issues that are there. Here at the elementary, we are looking for an online program. I don't know if we're still looking at that. As soon as we get the network to be able to go faster, we're going to try an app. I forget what it's called. Pick My Kid. It's better than Pick My Nose. Pick My Kid. I didn't say that. It's elementary kids laughing at me right now. Not pick your nose, pick your kid. And we're hoping that that's going to be actually give us some opportunities to lessen that bottleneck that sits there. It's don't come early. Yep. Yep.
Everything is streamlined on the communication. We have a system that works well. We have communication that needs a lot of work in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So this should streamline.
So 2 things with that. The max number, I think, increase we would potentially have on this campus as we lose some and gain some would be 75 more kiddos. But if we also then get a busing system where we're bringing in about that same number of kids, we're hoping it's a wash and fairly similar to what we're dealing with right now. Okay. Question also online was, when's the final decision of the 4th track going to be made? No later than the end of February. Okay, as soon as possible, but no later than the end of February. And really, that's driven mostly by whether we feel confident that we can have those modulars dropped. We'll have a conversation as the board to see if we hear any real challenges to this, because if there's other questions, we want to know those before we make any additional things, because we want to work in partnership with you guys. If there's concerns, you guys will have time here also. This will be open till Friday. Will this one be open until Friday also, David? Yes, so these questions, you guys can do that. We're going to follow up this and do a question and answer thing from all the questions that come up online here and make sure that there's there. So if there's any other things, we've got a board meeting on Monday. Make sure that we have those there so we can see those questions and address those. But February is when we want to do that. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yeah. Yeah, so I didn't talk about middle school sports, but we have the same number of, I think it's the same number of middle school sports as we do have high school sports. One of the things that is going to change, this is a model that Brian and I brought from our last school. Last hour will be an activity period. That's when they'll actually start practice. So some of you might like that idea. It's phenomenal for us because we're able to then help gym space and some of the late in practices that sit there. Also, that gives them, if they're traveling, because they're in an activity period, that last period they leave and they don't miss as much school. Number of positive things that happen as a result of having that activity period. Thank you. Yeah. So, yeah. So an exception is 6th grade, and I'm saying this because they can't hear you online. 6th grade, they have been doing a basketball. It's an inter kind of thing with other schools. We're looking at possibly busing them back to here to do practice here because we have 2 gyms there and a lot of basketball teams and volleyball teams and those kind of teams. So, yeah, yes. The price increases. Yeah, pray. I really would love to give you a better answer than are we doing that. As we've talked to some construction people, it's possible that the price that we start with actually might be lower than what we might be dealing with. Now, I know that sounds odd, but I'm listening to Michael as far as, I mean, he does this for a living and looks at the price of commodities that are coming in. And so, yes, we are looking at that. We're being very mindful of that. And now, could it be possible that we're going to see things that might be outside of what we think we can afford? If so, we won't do it. But go, please. He knows more about this than I do. Yep. So Michael's answering this question by saying we're being very mindful about the type of materials we're selecting. We have a committee that are looking at how to do that to make sure that we're as low cost as possible.
Yeah, we haven't looked at futures.
We haven't gotten that far yet. But great question. Here's what I will tell you, and especially if you have that kind of expertise, pop me an email, because we're going to be looking for a team that are going to be real mindful, help us walk through that process, and that'll start happening this year. So
There will be several
yep, board chair committees. We'd love experts in the field. If you have nothing else to do and want to volunteer hundreds of hours, we'd love for you. Dave, I'm getting the wave that I should look at my computer again. Well, if I didn't walk forward, David. Yes, ma'am. Your question?
I'm just curious how you guys plan to incorporate technology more across all campuses. It seems like maybe they get opportunities now, but a lot of schools have every student taking technology and using it in classroom from class to class. Is that something on the horizon?
Absolutely. In fact, what you'll see in middle school, you'll have next year will be the first year bring your own device will happen for middle school students. David Ains, would you wave from the back? He's our new director of technology, as well as we have two people that are educational technologists in the classroom themselves. They're making a plan for everything you just said right now. All right, so we're excited about how that's going to be there. You're welcome. That's a great question. Can we consider doing a sign up for parents to attend chapel? I don't know. Shelley, that's a good thought. Just allow a certain number in a seated section. All right, we're thinking about that. Thank you for that question. And how many new teachers do you anticipate needing for next year? Certainly, we have to go through the overview of any teachers that potentially might not be coming back. That was a conversation Shelley and I started talking about today. If we add one teacher per grade in the elementary, that would be 6. Simple math that sits there. At the middle school level, we know to separate the teaching staffs to make sure that they're just teaching high school and just teaching middle school. I think it's 4 additional teachers plus 1 for growth if we add that 4th section of 6th grade. So that's the numbers that we're looking at. Yes?
There's a lot of information to cover tonight. A lot. And a lot of it is covered. Sounds like it's been talked about for numerous years prior to. Communication seems like it's lacked. Are we making plans like some quarterly stuff to? It's like from fire hose right now.
Yeah.
Like a lot of stuff going on.
So, and I'll take responsibility for that. We talked about that. Is how do we begin to do that a little bit more in these? I've tried to have ones that I invite people to come and be a part of coffees, etc. And I know that doesn't work. That's been how I've tried to articulate some of this conversation. Some of these our decisions have been a result of the roadblocks that we've had, even though they've been behind the scenes. We didn't have these open up. But I agree with you. I personally will stand here and tell you we're going to do a better job with that. Okay. The idea of my quarterly videos was to do that, and we got to do a better job with those videos. I think of giving the big overviews that sit there. And if, yep, that's fair. Yeah, I take that and commit to that. And if you feel like it's not happening, please email me. I mean that, or yell at me or something to say, hey, Alan, you said in an open meeting and it's recorded that this is what you're going to do. Because here's the deal. There is nothing behind the curtain. We want you guys to understand everything we're doing. I'm an open book. If you call me on a day and want to know what's going on, I will tell you. But is there a lot going on? There is a lot going on, and we want to make sure we're staying ahead of it. I have an amazing team to be able to do that, but I don't disagree. Communication is one of those things, and we have to figure out how to do it that people are getting received by it too. Sometimes we're like, well, yeah, we send out those newsletters, and I'm like, and I say this because this is sexist. Guys don't read that. I always say that guys don't read the newsletter. I'm like, honey, it's your job to tell me what's in that newsletter. I didn't read it either. So we know that we need to do multifaceted communication in a better way. Yes.
So I have 2 questions. The first one's kind of just humorous for me. Have you ever dealt with a governmental body like ACHD?
Before now?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, but I've been amazed. I mean, people that I thought were really nice people, all of a sudden in the middle of this turned into not nice people. I might be one of those. I'm just telling you. I'm like, what? Anyway, yeah.
It's a personal issue.
This is live.
Government.
Just thinking out loud.
Okay. Second one is, and I'm sorry to bring it up because I know
You're fine.
There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of time that can pass. What's the temperature in the room as far as the leadership team, as far as how we're going to sell the high school, or who we're going to sell it to.
Do you mean raising the money for the high school building?
In Meridian campus.
Oh. So the question is, what's the temperature out there regarding the potential selling of that property? And I'll give you guys a basic overview. You guys saw the debt that we have on it. We think it's worth about $14 million, kind of the way it sits. Potential is hopefully to clear around $10 million with that. Right now, there is another private school that has had a conversation with me. There are a couple charter schools that have poked their heads up that are possibly interested in it. I'm meeting with a developer next week, Thursday or Friday, that I know the mayor of Meridian sent my direction to have that same kind of conversation. We've already had offers on the field, but I think trying to sell the field because they want to build large apartment complexes, to be honest with you, my PE teachers are going, please don't ever do that. I would never sell that field without it being a part of the school. I think that would ruin the value of it. So those are the basic ideas right now that we have. Yes?
Are you looking to try to sell, what is it, 4 parcels?
I don't know.
Church.
Oh, so here, yeah. So we don't own this property
In Meridian.
in Meridian. So we sold the mortuary. We don't own that. Yeah, we don't own the mortuary anymore. Thank you, Jesus. That might be the best thing I've done since I've been superintendent is get rid of that thing. I still remember the first day I walked in, I'm like, what is this? And the answer was, we think we can make it into a middle school. The problem is it was going to cost us $2.some million to turn it into a middle school. And we still have dead people in the basement. So you guys are laughing, not literally. You can tell I taught secondary, okay? Middle school to high school. Yes, Michael.
Do you want to maybe cover what Community Church has done?
Oh.
Last year?
Yeah, so that's I didn't cover that last night, but Cole Community Church, first they've been an unbelievable partner with us. We did separate entities as far as a corporate entity, so we are no longer a part of that. So we have our separate 501c3, and we were right in the middle of right now of basically them handing everything that we've either purchased together to a degree. They're basically saying all of it is yours that you guys have done, and so they've been an incredible partner. Right now we're trying to just finalize that bond because actually this church owns the bond. We're just having to transfer that over to us, and as soon as that happens, then we'll be transferring all properties over to us, and then we'll have the ability to make any decisions. And they did that because they knew that they were honestly holding us back from meeting our vision and the growth that we're dealing with, so that we can go in the future. So did that cover enough, Michael?
Yeah, I think it did.
Okay. What else? Yes.
I have a question about the SAS.
Yes.
Are they going to be like the 6th grade? Are they going to be moving over to the campus along with the students?
The current teachers are not. I think is there one teacher, Shel? One teacher? One. We already have the program over there. Yeah. So we already have the program over there. I think one teacher's going, and then Christine will be running that and communicating directly exactly what that program is. So the program looks a little bit differently there. Middle school functions and then high school functions a little bit differently. Our goal is to really graduate them through the services that they need as they get through the programs. So they'll be talking to you individually if you have a student, okay? Is there anything else online, David, that I'm not looking at? Anything else? Questions, guys? I appreciate you guys being here. I'll stick around for a little bit. Michael will be here. Shelly will be here also if you guys have any other individual questions. If you're at home, you can't ask us individual questions because you're not sitting here, but please do that online. Again, that'll be open until Friday. We'll follow this up again with questions and answers. This will also be sent as a digital copy so people can watch this back at the end, okay? Let me pray. God, thank you so much. And we lift up all of this to you. Thank you so much for the families and the partnership that we have. And we specifically pray for every young boy and young girl. And God, that you would do your will in their lives, that you would touch them and anoint them, that they would grow in stature and understanding and wisdom, that they would grow closer to you. That we do pray for revival, that each one of them would come to a saving understanding and knowledge of you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys so much for being here. Again, I'll stick around if you have any additional questions. And at least the championship game wasn't tonight. I had a few people frowning at me last night, but they had a better turnout even on championship game night.